Creating a film that takes inspiration from two different genre types meant that the process of describing my film to the audience was actually quite difficult, particularly because the silent film genre is not a popular choice amongst the same audience who favour social realism films. Additionally, my narrative concept is particularly complex, so I had to condense the description by providing a brief summary of the main event that occurs during the short film, because at times, during the course of gathering feedback, it was evident that the audience was slightly confused in regards to the narrative concept, as the film was not stated under one specific genre. In order to gather feedback which would be useful for me, displaying demand characteristics, which is something I encountered during AS and is a consistent negative effect when using methods such as questionnaires. Initially, with my first batch of audience feedback, I developed a questionnaire with simple open questions concerning the audience's understanding and feelings towards the initial narrative concept idea. I incorporated a variety of questions concerning the audience's expectations, such as what conventions they believe are associated with the social realism and the silent film genre. The audience were given the opportunity to view the short film and answer questions relating to what they saw and whether they felt that the short film suits typical genre conventions. A sort of free-fall was allocated to the audience so they could pick out components of the film that they either liked or disliked. Answers were relatively detailed, however they lacked an emphasis as their responses were limited and lacked in detail, so the responses provided very little information regarding how I could potentially improve my idea. So I had to change my methodology for receiving audience feedback. Ideally, an online survey should have been randomly distributed to a large sample of people unknown to me. However, this does go against ethical guidelines such as the privacy of my chosen actress, as she would not have given her consent for me to present the film to an audience unfamiliar to her. To ask the audience their opinion regarding my ancillaries, I needed to design the feedback methodology in a different way to increase reliability. For the film poster, I asked two simple questions, one of which was for the audience to rate the poster from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest. The aim of this question was to summarise the current quality of the poster, so I could know whether the aesthetics in particular is at a point where the poster is effective in regards to a conventional layout, and whether the audience found the poster to be eye-catching from the first glance. The audience were then given the freedom of choice to comment on features of the poster that they liked or disliked. Providing the audience with this option was effective in gathering detailed and accurate information, as they were able to pinpoint the feature that the audience found to be striking, as well as validating their perspective upon my products. Feedback was used throughout the coursework process, from the stages of production throughout to the final exhibition. It was more effective at different stages of the coursework process. For instance, I used feedback when creating the animatic, but this proves to be less useful than when gathering feedback from the first edit for the short film. Although the animatic was important in preparation for when I actually had to create the short film, the audience found it hard to identify the film concept when just looking at a series of drawn shots, so the feedback was quite useless in respect to how changes could be made, as the audience would comment on things like how I could draw the character in a different way to make the shot clearer. In contrast, feedback concerning the short film and ancillary tasks significantly helped me throughout the process of producing the products, as I was able to ask for feedback on any individual feature within the product, whether it be how the opening title should appear or whether I needed to incorporate additional instruments in the soundtrack. I used SurveyMonkey during the production stages for my ancillary tasks and short film, as a means of easy access to audience feedback via social media, as it allowed me to gather quick responses so I could make instant alterations whilst editing, for example. For the short film, I asked for feedback in small instalments, as opposed to asking a bunch of questions at the end of one edit. It allowed me to create and adjust the components, such as the titles, through asking the audience's opinion on how it initially looks and what could be changed. I learned to trust the audience's opinion, which subsequently influenced my choice of changes for the short film.